Hey, I'm Creech and this is Creech and Cars. Today I'm going to be going over everything you need to know about the Faraday Future FF91, an electric luxury SUV. This is Startup Showcase, where I take a look at new startup car brands and their models. I'm going to go over the exterior and interior design of the FF91, and then I'll take a look at the features and performance specs. Finally, I'll go over when you should expect to see the model out on the streets and whether or not it will be successful. But first, here's a brief overview of Faraday Future. Faraday Future was founded all the way back in 2014 in Los Angeles by Chinese businessman Jia Yuting. The company spent its first few years of existence focusing on developing infrastructure for future manufacturing plants, and in 2017, the FF91 was unveiled as its first production vehicle. However, as early as 2016, there were reports that the company was financially unstable. Faraday Future's executives confirmed that the company was facing difficulty paying back debt, but that the FF91 would go on sale by the end of 2018, and the company would begin to see at least some cash start to flow in. However, by the time 2018 came to an end, the FF91 was still nowhere to be seen, and the company announced it was downsizing and restructuring, while also getting significant investment from other businesses. Later on in 2019, founder Jia Yuting would declare personal bankruptcy and relinquish his involvement in the company. In 2021, the company would go public and be listed on the Nasdaq. However, this came with an investigation from the SEC that resulted in many executives, including the CEO, having to step down. So it's been a very rocky road for Faraday Future, but the FF91 is finally upon us, so let's start with the exterior design. The FF91 has odd proportions overall, and to me it looks like a minivan with the roofline of a sedan or coupe. It is quite long, being 4 inches longer than the Bentayga and a couple inches shy of the S-Class. However, the proportions will make a little more sense when we look at the interior. The front end features a gloss black bumper and small grille. The bumper wraps up to accentuate the air curtains on either side, but the main feature is the large body panel with the Faraday Future logo on it that is backlit. Above that, we can see a light bar that contains the slim bright LED headlights, and then on the hood you can see more gloss black that extends from the windshield. And this is actually where a lot of the cameras and sensors are stored. Depending on the drive mode, a cylindrical piece rises from this area to give the vehicle more data and information about road conditions. The FF91 has been shown in silver and white, but it seems that the gloss black roof and other accents will remain unchanged no matter the color. As we come around to the side profile, we can see that the FF91 uses digital side mirrors and doesn't have door handles. The doors open automatically and can be locked and unlocked using facial recognition. More on that later. Coming around to the back, we can see more gloss black on the bumper and large air curtains as well. The rear also has a light bar, but unlike the front, it uses a bunch of the segmented logos in the light design, which is pretty cool. And then there is a spoiler above the steeply sloped rear window. Now let's take a look inside, and here the FF91 goes a different route from most EVs. While there is a large amount of screen area, aside from that, the FF91 is fairly old-fashioned, with its prioritization clearly being aimed towards comfort and true luxury instead of sportiness. The most common interior color that has been shown is a two-tone scheme with dark gray or black trim on the dash and upper portions of the doors and ceiling, and then everything else is a light gray or white color. But Faraday Future has also shown off completely black and red and black interiors. There is a large portrait-oriented infotainment screen for the driver, and then another equally large landscape-oriented screen for the front passenger. In the rear, there is a large screen that drops down from the ceiling for those passengers, and in addition to that, there is a small screen on each door for things like window controls. But beyond the excessive screens, the FF91 does try to create a more traditional, pillowy, soft environment for passengers, but some journalists have regarded the interior as being more similar to a plane than a car. This is most apparent in the rear, where the large overstuffed seats can be fully reclined. Although I'm a fan of more traditional luxury cars that aren't super sporty, the FF91 does seem to be going in the opposite direction of the trend, as virtually all luxury automakers or at least partially sports car companies now. Now let's take a look at some of the unique features that the FF91 has to offer. The first one that I already briefly mentioned is the automatic doors. Essentially, the driver can walk up to the door where there's a facial scanner on the B-pillar. Once the driver is recognized, the doors will open, and they have sensors so that they won't hit any obstacles. Each driver can also set up an FFID, which is essentially a driver profile that is attached to each driver's face, so when the car recognizes you, it will also adjust all these settings to your preferences. The rear doors are rear hinged as well to heighten the luxury feel, and the FF91 is designed with chauffeur customers in mind. So there are the comfort features like the reclining rear seats that I mentioned, and there is also what Faraday Future calls driverless valet parking. However, the company has been unsuccessful thus far with actually showcasing this feature. Other than that, you can expect to see ultra luxury features like fully air conditioned and massaging seats, and hopefully great build quality and material quality considering the high price tag. Now let's get into some performance numbers. The FF91 uses a 3-motor setup with one on each rear wheel and then one more on the front axle. Faraday Future claims a maximum output of 1050 horsepower or 350 horsepower per motor. With a 130 kilowatt hour battery, there is an EPA estimated range of 378 miles per charge. The battery can charge at a rate of 500 miles per hour with a DC charging system. So if this all turns out to be accurate, that is a very impressive range to get out of such a powerful system. While you might have to drive conservatively to get the full 378 miles, if you want to floor it, there is a claimed 0 to 60 time of 2.4 seconds. There's also a rear wheel steering to help the FF91 handle more like a smaller, sportier car rather than the very long crossover that it is. So that's pretty much all of the information we have about the FF91 right now. But if Faraday Future can finally get production up, could the FF91 be a successful ultra luxury SUV? Well, even without getting into details, it's clear that while many EV startups will have a rough road to becoming established brands, Faraday Future has had one of the worst paths and still has maybe the toughest road ahead of it. Let's take a look at some numbers. The FF91 will start around $180,000, which means it is absolutely in the ultra luxury territory, putting it in competition with models like the Bentley Bentayga, Lamborghini Urus, and Aston Martin DBX. It should come as no surprise that this is a small market, and it takes much more effort to compete with brands like Lamborghini in a segment like this than it does to bring something cheap to market and then try to steal a few sales from brands like Hyundai or Chevy. The two largest markets for ultra-luxury SUVs are the United States and China, and I just have a hard time believing that many wealthy US buyers would opt for this over a Bentayga or even a Model X. Also, the FF91 will have to compete with the upcoming Porsche K1, which will be much sportier and come with an established brand name. So I think it would be best for the brand to mostly target China, although it will still face an uphill battle there, as the ultra-luxury car market is still dominated by German brands, including Volkswagen, making it fairly similar to the United States. Overall, Faraday Future is a long shot, and while the car has cool features and great performance, I'm skeptical of a lot of the claims, as the company has faced scrutiny over false claims in the past, and the SEC found that Faraday Future has lied to investors before. But with fairly new leadership and the first FF91s finally coming off of the production line, I can't completely write it off just yet. So that's all I have for you today. This is part of a series on the channel where I take a look at new startup car brands and their models. So if you like videos like this, check out the Startup Showcase playlist on the channel and subscribe so you don't miss future videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.